Hello everyone, AJ here, and today I would like to talk to you about how do you create a quick project schedule, right? When you have a project. Now, of course, you can and actually you must create a detailed project plan or Gantt chart when you have a project, and the more complex it is, the better it would be that your schedule or plan is detailed, right? But what I'm about to share with you over here is more on getting started. Okay, getting started. Right. So the number one, the first thing that you need to be aware of, okay, when you want to create a schedule is number one, in your respective countries, you will need to note down the public holidays, okay, in your country. Okay, normally for this purpose, I would just use Excel because you can have many pages or worksheets for Excel. So I would allocate one page for holidays, public holidays. Okay, so point number one, note down all the public holidays that you have in your country. Okay, if you have state holidays, you should also include those as well, right? Okay, secondly, based on the scope of the project, you should look at the deliverables, right? And from the deliverables, break it down into tasks. Okay, so for example, I'm giving a very rough example that might not be connected to IT. For example, let's say if you want to build a car, right? So if you want to build a car, you break it down into the tires, okay, the dashboard, the roof, and so on. Okay, so for each component of the car, you will have different set of activities, or sometimes it might even be the same set of activities, right? So list them down, right? And then the next step, which would be the what people say as the difficult part of creating a schedule is you will have to estimate how long it would take to complete each task. Okay, there are a few ways for you to do this without going so off track. Number one is you can talk to people who are experienced, okay, in the activities, and you ask them about how long it would take, okay, to complete these activities. That's one. Number two, you can look at previous Gantt charts or project schedules. They are more or less similar to what you're currently doing. Yeah? And number three, if let's say number one and number two they are not available, then you just need to make an intelligent guess, right? And then amend it later, right? So you have noted down your holidays. Okay, you have broken down the deliverables into the respective tasks. You have assigned dates to each activity. Okay, the next one will be based on all these tasks that you have, okay, in your schedule. Uh, Study them and then determine whether any of them should be in sequence, or whether any of them are they are depending on one another. For example, maybe you cannot start B until you finish A, for example, right? So the dependencies, okay, after you have the whole list of tasks, study them and start to identify the dependencies. And if you manage to detect a dependency, amend your Gantt chart or schedule as such, right? And make sure that the date would also correspond to that logical flow, okay? One before the other, right? The last step would actually be after you have a draft schedule or plan, run it with your project sponsor, your manager, your project team, right? See whether it makes sense. Okay, so if it makes sense, then what you can do is you can do, or rather, you can adopt that plan as your baseline. Okay, so when people talk about project baseline, that will be the first version whereby these are the things that you expect to be completed based on these so and so dates, right? Um, you are normally expected to abide by them, but let's just say if some estimations are clearly off, then you can amend them in the future, but you will need to explain the changes, right, to the baseline, to the project sponsor or probably the project steering committee. Normally, when you report project progress, you will need to report it to some kind of committee, right? Some kind of committee. So, for example, the project steering committee, right? So, I hope you find that to be useful. See you in the next video.